Morning and welcome. Good morning and welcome. We are glad you are here with us today on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 for our Administrative Matters agenda and meeting. I call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you for joining us for the pledge. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad McNally. I am the chair of the Board of County Commissioners for Larimer County, and I welcome you. I'm joined at the dais by my colleagues, Commissioner Kristen Stevens and Commissioner John Gafalis. We also are joined on the other side of the dais is by our County Manager, Lorenda Volker. Also, we have from the Clerk and Recorder's Office, Diane Cheney, who will be taking minutes for us today. Thank you, Diane. We also have Tom Clayton from our Public Information Office for the Commissioners. And also we have Sarah Martin from the Commissioner's Office, who does lots of great things for us, including reading off the schedules today. So with that, we'll move on to public comment. And we will welcome now anyone who would like to do public comment from the audience. You would have 3 minutes.
Eric Sutherland, citizen of Fort Collins. There are things happening right now in the property tax space that our Supreme Court said would not happen 45 years ago on the one and only occasion when it reviewed the constitutionality of tax increment financing. There are things happening that the town of Timnath's attorneys in litigation 20 years ago said would not happen. Why are these things happening? Well, they're happening because the state legislation in 2005 to end a lawsuit between Larimer County and Timnath wrote language into the statutes that turned tax increment financing from a source of debt financing into a source of general fund revenue. When it becomes general fund revenue, it's clearly unconstitutional. It's clearly something that the Supreme Court in dicta in Denver Urban Renewal Authority versus Byrne indicated would not be permissible under the Colorado State Constitution. And that's been going on 20 years. Guys, if you can lose 6% of your property tax revenue to these TIF scams, maybe what we really need is a 10% property tax cut overall in Larimer County and get rid of the TIF. Because, I mean, honestly, if you can suffer that type of loss and still conduct your affairs, probably don't need to tax as much as we do. Now, tell me one thing here. Why is it that the town of Timnath has not reconstituted the Urban Renewal Authority the way Fort Collins and Loveland has? Well, the myth there is that there's a trigger mechanism associated with a substantial modification to an Urban Renewal Authority plan. There is no language anywhere in the statute that can be interpreted in that way. Legislation in 2015, 2016, 2017 all applied to all urban renewal authorities. It's right there in the applicability clause of the statute and the legislation. It is just an absolute minefield at this point in time of illegality, lack of understanding, and taxpayers are just being hung out to dry here, folks. Completely wasting your time with hiring an accountant down in Lura to look at whether or not the Centura Metro District is following contract clauses or something like that, when the real question is whether or not it should be getting any money at all. You guys are really screwing up.
Okay, thanks for the public comments, Sarah. Well, let me first ask anyone else in the room if they'd like to do public comment. I don't see anyone. Sarah, is there anyone online who would like to do public comment?
No, Commissioner.
Wonderful. Well, now we'll close public comment. I'll just see if my colleagues would like to say anything? Okay, we're going to move on. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Colleagues, were there any changes or concerns you have with the minutes? Okay, I will ask Commissioner Stevens to make that motion, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes for the week of February 16th, 2026.
Okay, motion's been made. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. Sarah, let's look at the upcoming schedule.
This is the Commissioner's schedule for March 9th through the 13th, 2026. On Monday, March 9th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Behavioral Health Technical Advisory Committee meeting. From 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Behavioral Health Consumer Advisory Committee meeting. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Forest Health Council Leveraging Resources Committee meeting. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual State Emergency Medical and Trauma Services Public Policy and Finance Committee special meeting. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session with Leslie Ellis, Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources in the Commissioner's Conference Room on the second floor. From 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., there will be land use items with the Development Review Team. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the hearing room on the first floor or virtually via Zoom. On Tuesday, March 10th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be an Administrative Matters meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be Administrative Direction to County Management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. From 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Commissioners will participate in the virtual Environmental and Science Advisory Board meeting. On Wednesday, March 11th, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Workforce Development Board meeting at the Emergency Operations Center at 4872 Endeavor Drive in Johnstown. From 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., the Commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Governing Board meeting. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, and Land Use Committee meeting. From 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Pinewood Springs Source Water Protection Planning Workshop meeting. From 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will host a community conversation for the Loveland community regarding the Ranch Master Plan and Campus Tour at the ranch at the Larimer County Conference Center at 5280 Arena Circle in Loveland. From 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Agricultural Advisory Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 1525 Blue Spruce Drive in Fort Collins or virtually via Zoom. From 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Colorado State University College of Liberal Arts Democracy Summit 2026 closing keynote conversation at the Laurie Student Center at 1101 Center Avenue Mall in Fort Collins. On Thursday, March 12th, from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the Fort Collins Downtown Development Board of Directors meeting at Innisphere Ventures at 320 Vine Drive in Fort Collins. From 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Housing and Transportation Committees meeting. From 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Northern Colorado Fireshed Collaborative meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at the Emergency Operations Center at 4872 Endeavor Drive in Johnstown or virtually via Zoom. From 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis may attend the Sava Center Open House at 4812 South College Avenue in Fort Collins. From 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally will attend a Livermore Community Town Hall meeting at the Livermore Community Hall at 2044 West County Road 74E in Livermore. On Friday, March 13th, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., the Commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Fiscal Reform and Public Health/Human Services Committees meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you going through that whole schedule. Colleagues, I'll see if you have any additions. Commissioner Stevens, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple things. First of all, we had heard maybe yesterday that the Pinewood Springs thing was for more for staff and not necessarily for us.
That's correct, yes.
So won't be attending that on March 11th at 1. And then I do have Urban Renewal Finance Committee meeting on Thursday, March 12th from 4 to 5. I also may try to attend that the democracy closing keynote conversation on Wednesday, March 11th from 4 to 5 with Commissioner Kvalis. And I may add some of the, there are quite a few events for that, so I haven't really taken a look at that to see what I want to add to my schedule for that. So I will be in touch about that. I think that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Commissioner Koufalis, do you have any additions or changes?
I think so. Well, one is that on Monday the 9th, I put it in the calendar, but I'm planning to attend the NASW Colorado Social Work Month celebration at Laurie Student Center. NASW's National Association of Social Workers. So there's that.
Do you know what time that is?
What it shows in the calendar, I thought I put it's 9 to 11.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'll be there the whole time. Give me a moment, please. I'm sorry.
Would you mind if I went ahead and added mine on?
Please, yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Yes. That might be it, though.
Sarah, I also might attend the Democracy Summit, and I might move my other meeting in person. I'm moving it. I apologize. I've moved them a couple of times now. On Thursday, March 12th, I just wanted to note there's a retirement party for our longtime engineer, and I'm assuming that's the same day, and I want to make sure it's noted that we all might show up at that retirement party. It's down here in the Boyd Lake room and Card Lake room, and it's from 2 to 4, so I thought we should note that because I have a feeling we'll probably all be stopping in one time or another. And then I think that's it that I have. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you, Commissioner Koufalis.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, great. Well, we'll move on now to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. Our consent agenda consists of items of no perceived controversy and routine administrative actions such as abatements, agreements, deeds, final plats, liquor licenses, resolutions, and other matters previously reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners, and staff recommends approval of the consent agenda. A commissioner may request that an item be pulled off the agenda, considered separately, and items from the agenda will be considered after the board takes action on the remainder of the agenda. I'm going to read through very briefly and very high level our consent agenda. For those members in the audience or the public who are interested in what's on our consent agenda, having more details, you can go online to our Board of County Commissioners website where those items and the meetings are listed, and you can find those details and the consent agenda and other really great items on the Board of County Commissioners website on Larimer.gov or org. And so we'll start high level. We have 20 abatements that are listed under abatements for abatement or refund of taxes, and I'm not going to go through all 20. And then we have agreements. We have several agreements. We have first is an Amendment 1 agreement for exchange of real estate, including land and all other improvements, and rights of first refusal to purchase property back. And that is our agreement between the Larimer County and the City of Fort Collins. We have a Larimer County Colorado Professional Services Agreement, and this is for Phase 1 Strategic Research and Community Engagement Services with Public Alignment. We have a conveyance of a permanent easement, which was submitted by our engineering department, and it's a permanent utility easement on land from some private owners on North County Road 27. We have a another conveyance of a permanent easement, which is another permanent utility easement owned by private landowners on for maintenance of fiber optic and facility adjacents, and that is on North County Road 27. And there's certain amounts and things you can see there on, like I said, on the website. We have number 5 is a work order for professional services for the ranch, soon to be Appen Theater, and this is design services that is working with our ranch staff and our project manager. And then we have number 6, a release and settlement from the Larimer County Attorney's Office for a settlement agreement in U.S. District Court Case 23-CV 001-819-PAB-SKC. And as I said, you can all look for those online. We also have an intergovernmental agreement for Colorado Child Care Assistance Program services, and that is between our Human Services Department and Grand County Department of Services, and this is just for Grand County, and we're going to be helping to provide social. Larimer County will be providing social services and programs to support and collaborate, partner with Grand County. We have appointments. We have a recommended reappointment to the Box Elder Regional Stormwater Authority, which is Eric Tracy from our Department of Engineering. Thank you, Eric. Recommended appointment to the Box Elder Basin Regional Storm Authority, excuse me, and Matt Fodder. Thank you for your continued service. And then we have a recommended midterm appointments to Carriage Hill Improvement District of Laurel Halsey, a recommended midterm appointment to Cobblestone Farms Improvement District of Jamie Howes, and a recommended midterm appointment to Namaqua Hills General Improvement District of Angela Schneider, and another midterm recommended appointment to the Poudre River Library Board of Trustees of Jennifer Byrach. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. We have 2 liquor licenses. Both are renewals. One's for Silvendale Ranch in Loveland, Colorado, and the other is for Fort Collins Country Club in Fort Collins. Now we're moving on to our miscellaneous. We have 23 miscellaneous items that are stipulations as to tax year 2025. I'm not going to read through all of those. Or actually 23. I will do it for you, Commissioner Kafals, if you'd like me to. If you would find that entertaining, I will do it. Number 24, actually, I'm sorry, it's 23 of those. So on the 24th item in our miscellaneous is Larimer County legislative positions. You can go on to the Secretary of State's website if you'd like to see where any of our positions of support, oppose, or amend, bless you, are on the website. We also have a grant, miscellaneous item, a grant of utility easement with the City of Loveland that was submitted by our engineering department. Thank you also for your work in engineering. This is perpetual non-exclusive utility easement on land owned by Larimer County, and this is for construction and maintenance for infrastructure. And then we have a donation approval letter from Natural Resources that has been offered. Has received a donation from a very generous individual, Mr. James, and this is towards construction of the Chimney Hollow open space. We have 2 resolutions, findings and resolution approving the Menard Conservation District, which was a hearing that we had on a public hearing held on January 26, 2026. And then we have a resolution ordering a public hearing to consider a petition for exclusion from the Tanager Public Improvement District number 7. And this was resolution on a public hearing that was heard on March 23rd, 2026. So, colleagues, that is all the items on our consent agenda. Do any of my colleagues wish to pull any of those items off the consent agenda? If not, Commissioner Kafals, would you please make the motion?
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda for March 3rd, 2026.
Thank you for that proper motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Do you have any guests today, colleagues? Just our wonderful sheriff's deputy who is here to keep us safe, and I'm sure he's entertained as our meeting is rolling along. And now we'll move on to our discussion items. And these are, we have just one today, which is something that's very special to me, is a proclamation for Women's History Month. We started this as we on the Board of County Commissioners, I believe, in 2022. It's something we hadn't done before, but very important proclamation to proclaim March 2026 as Women's History Month, and really invites us all to learn about the generations of women who have left an enduring legacy on our nation's history. And also there's a very rich history of women and the history they have done in parts of Larimer County in Colorado, since Colorado was one of the first to have women in the legislature, and first in the country to do by referendum to give women the right to vote. And also there's a rich history in the town of Estes Park and Estes Park, who folks helped make Rocky National Park a national park. So lots of great history in Fort Collins, Loveland, all around. And just it's great that I believe that we're doing this to honor that. So colleagues, I'm going to have Commissioner Stevens read the proclamation and make the motion, and then we can add some comments after that. So, and one of the reasons I'm wearing purple today is because that's kind of symbolized with Women's History Month, and also with the suffragists, and would appreciate you reading that motion, reading the proclamation and making the motion, Commissioner Stevens.
Yes, Madam Chair. So this is a proclamation for Women's History Month, March 2026. Whereas the Women's History Month recognition began in one town in 1978 when a task force of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women celebrated Women's History Week in Santa Rosa, California. The week was chosen to include International Women's Day, which is March 8th. And whereas the movement spread to other communities, and in 1980, women's groups and historians asked the federal government for recognition, President Jimmy Carter proclaimed the week of March 8, 1980 to be National Women's History Week. And whereas the recognition was renewed later by presidents until 1987, when Congress designated March as Women's History Month. And whereas throughout our history, women had fought tirelessly to further our democracy's reach and help with progress towards a more perfect union. Through protest and activism, generations of women have advocated for the values and character of our nation. And whereas generations of women have fought to give meaning to the idea that we are all created equal and widen the circle of opportunity for all. And whereas women of every race, class, socioeconomic, and ethnic background have served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social and legislative change movement, and have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, including as trailblazers in science, the arts, education, business, social services, nonprofits, and government at all levels. And whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the workforce working inside and outside of the home. And whereas women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and continue to fill a majority of roles in those fields. And whereas women have served our country courageously in military conflicts, and whereas women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, the sustainable future movement, the peace movement, and other social movements which create a more fair and just society for all. Whereas despite all the aforementioned contributions, the recognized and unrecognized role of women in history has been largely diminished, excluded, and erased, both in record as well as the history that is taught. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim that March 2026 is designated as Women's History Month, and invites all to visit the website womenshistorymonth.gov to learn more about the generations of women who have left an enduring legacy on our nation's history.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Would you go ahead and make that motion as well, and then we can make our comments? And
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to approve the proclamation declaring March 2026 as Women's History Month.
thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Now I'll invite Commissioner Cafals. Would you like to make any comments?
I'll be brief. I think I'm just grateful that we can celebrate events like Women's History Month, especially groups that sometimes are marginalized by forces in our society. I think the proclamation speaks for itself. There's a lot of wonderful recognitions, the contributions that women have made throughout history in this country and frankly throughout the world. I'm glad that March 8th is International Women's Day, and it's important that we recognize that. And perhaps a suggestion would be that for those women in our lives that we care about and we encounter, we ought to be especially nice to them this month of March, and certainly on March 8th. That is all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stevens, I'll let you go ahead and make your comments, and I'll make mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just really grateful that we're able to do this proclamation. I think it's really important for women and young girls in our community to see that we're honoring this month. Just want to thank all the women who work for Larimer County. We have a lot of women in leadership roles, and they do an excellent job. And we would not be the organization we are without them. Also, as the country celebrates its 250th anniversary, I think that there is a lot of history that is hidden or that we don't know about that's being uncovered every day. And we hear those stories about women who were brave and strong and had remarkable leadership roles. And so really glad that there's some effort being made to uncover that history and celebrate that history of women. So as a women leader and my fellow women leaders that are at the dais, I'm grateful to work with all of you, and grateful that we are at last acknowledging some of the quiet stories that have happened over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. I'm going to just say a few things. I'm really grateful my colleagues have supported. I kind of wanted to see this Women's History Month, and I appreciate all of you joining me in on that. It's very important to me as the co-founder of the National Women's Suffrage Monument that I worked very hard to bring from an idea and build a nonprofit, and you actually have to get a law passed through Congress to place something in Washington, D.C. for women's suffrage movement. And I knew some of the history of women's suffrages across, but as we dug into this and learned more of the 88-year history, it took that long for women to earn the right to vote and enfranchise, more than half the country. And the women who went through all of that, a lot of them suffered, were jailed and beaten and other items, and other women attacked other women trying to say they were destroying the family fabric. And there was a lot in that history. And so I'm very proud. And if you haven't been following that, the Women's Monument will be placed actually on the National Mall near in Constitutional Gardens near the Vietnam War Memorial and some of those. And it's going to have a clear vision of both, the Lincoln Memorial and Washington Memorial. And I was when we were in D.C., I took a quick ride over there just to walk the grounds. And it was something I always dare dream about, but took another law through Congress to get it to be there. I'm very proud of all the folks who have worked on that for so long. And it's really opened my eyes to, there's a lot of women and a lot of folks who their stories never are taught and told, who have really done a lot over the generations of our great country. And in Colorado and in Larimer County, of folks who are not seen or heard, but do things every day to support their families, support their schools, support their community, support the nonprofits, who really, in partnership with wonderful community members and their friends who are whether male or identify a different way, that they all work together to make our communities better. And I think it's really important to recognize recognize that the history is a living history and it continues on. And every day there's brave women and young women who step up and partner with everyone to do the work together. The theme for this year for Women's History Month is leading the change for women shaping a sustainable future. And this is not just only environmental, but really talking about how honoring women who reimagine and rebuilding systems to ensure long-term environmental, economic, and social sustainability. And I think that's really important as we work along. We rebuild and reimagine systems that makes it equitable and stronger for all. So we may not always be in these seats, and all of you may not always be in these seats, but at least we build systems to make sure we're continue to lift everyone up, especially women who have not always had the same rights and privileges. As we were in DC, I'm a member of Women of NACO and some women's groups around here. And Women of NACO we've been meeting, and the new president had started this theme this year that they brought young women from across their area. I could not really find someone who would like to fly to DC and come attend that, but they had lots of women, young women in high school and college who came in, and we were telling stories, and some of these young women still didn't understand how some women couldn't have a bank account or their own credit card even in the 1970s and 60s, and how all that has changed. And it was really great to see the Women of NACO was called One, really trying to lift up future leaders, and I think that's really, really important. When we talked about future leaders, I mentioned some amazing folks. If you think about Elizabeth Auntie Stone, who was the founding mother of Fort Collins, they call her. We think about Mabel Preble, who was the first mayor of Fort Collins in 1972. I always loved the Isabel Bird. If you haven't read her historical biography, she's very famous because she shaped Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Park. And I feel like I'm a good hiker, but I'm certainly not as tough as she is. As she summited Long's Peak in 1873 in boots and a dress, and so I will never be as tough as Isabella Bird. And so, think about how amazing that must all be. And some of the other women, I'm very proud to be the first woman to sit in the District 3 seat, as Commissioner Stevens said. And we're older as Larimer County, older than the state of Colorado. And we're on the original territories. And you think, Commissioner Stevens, with all that 161 history, I believe, or 160. 61. I have to look at that. Older than the state of Colorado, but I think you and I, of all that over 100-year history, I think there's only been 5 total women. So I think that's really amazing and important to realize of all the history. We have our first ever county engineer. Nicole is in the audience today. We have amazing county engineer, Mark Peterson, and I'm not sure that's not why but you were elevated either way, but really to think we have some amazing directors, but also just our amazing staff. Work all together. It's not about gender, it's about strong partnerships and cross-sectional work. And I just want to just recognize we have some amazing, strong women who have made our county government great and worked along with our male counterparts, because we recognize we're stronger together, and just all the things we're breaking barriers in so many ways in Larimer County, whether it's in law enforcement, emergency response, leadership, public policy, conservation. There's just a lot to mention, and I just wanted to kind of share that because it's pretty exciting to think about the progress has been made, and I hope that we don't go backwards and certain federal policy like the SAVE Act does not come into fruition. I just have to mention that because that would take away some folks' rights to vote. So with that, just want to thank folks for allowing us to do this. We have great proclamations. I'll take one out and give it to another women leader in our community. And Lorinda, I would see if you'd like to add. I know there was a lot, but I just wanted to name some historical women in our community that some first that, especially climbing. I will never climb Long's Peak in a dress. Let's put it that way.
I'll keep it very brief, Commissioners. Thank you very much for having a workforce that honors men and women equally, that the person who's most qualified does the job. I think that starts at the top. That's a culture, and you all have supported that both inside this organization and out in the community. As a mother of a daughter and a grandmother of a granddaughter who is turning 5 this year, I have great hope for the future. And I think you've mentioned all the reasons why. So thank you very much, and thank you for honoring women in our community this way.
Thank you, and I hope that you'll go out and do something for International Women's Day, and maybe thank one of those, even if they're not a former electeds, maybe some nonprofit leader, and just thank them for the work they've done, because we all stand on the shoulders of everyone that's come before us to be where we're at today. So there's a motion on the table. Any further discussion?
Actually,
Commissioner Kafalis.
I just wanted to mention, if folks aren't aware, there is, indirectly, I've been working with one of the board members of the Veterans Plaza of Northern Colorado to advance a statue. They already have the design that would be at the Veterans Plaza of a woman soldier. And so I wanted to make sure that folks are aware of that. And I'd like to follow up with Lorenda to discuss that we need to work with the city to kind of get this thing moving along. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, motion's on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Usually we have some of our women's groups able to come and receive the proclamation, but they weren't able to come today, so I'm just going to share that I will pass this on, these proclamations. I'll hand them over to our clerk to sign. So moving on, now we have the county manager update.
Thank you, Commissioners. Last week was a week filled with external coordination. So I met with Poudre School District Superintendent Brian Kingsley, Loveland City Manager Jim Thompson, our DOLA Regional Manager Chris LeMay. We meet a couple of times a year to talk about the county and what DOLA can do to support us, and they're a great partner. And Wellington Town Manager Patty Garcia, and CSU Extension Front Range Regional Director Carrie Rollins. So a lot of that external kind of thing. Also, as you know, I'm on the board of directors for the Colorado City and, I have to think about this because they switched the name around, Colorado County Administrators Association. I'm the Front Range Director for that board, and so we meet quarterly, and we met last week. It was great to hear from other counties the kind of things that we go through together. The regions may be different, and we may have different detailed problems, but we really are all working toward the same goal of serving our community in the best way we can, and watching sort of legislation as it happens to make sure that we know how to help each other as legislation rolls out, and we can support each other in that area. So thank you for allowing me and supporting me to be on that board. I appreciate it very much. It gives great perspective every time we meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenda, and thanks for the work that you've done and do continually. Important work for all of us as with our collaborators and partners. Now we'll move on to, did my colleagues have any questions for Lorenda? Okay, we'll move on to activity reports. We'll start with Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you. I'll mention four things quickly, one in a little bit more detail. First of all, on Saturday, I attended the annual fundraiser for Isaac, which is Interfaith Solidarity and Accompaniment Coalition. They had an amazing event at the Foothills Unitarian Church. They work with a lot of immigrant families, and they also had some theater that was really quite interesting. So I'm grateful that I was able to participate in that and meet with folks. Secondly, I attended two meetings regarding this discussions that are happening on declining school enrollment and budget issues for Poudre School District, and probably all of us, I guess. One was at the Cashla Poudre Elementary School, and the other one was at the Livermore Elementary School. And one thing that just reminded me is how important these mountain rural schools are in terms of preserving the character of those communities. So I'm really hoping that we can find some good solutions that doesn't eliminate these community hubs that are really important in those rural communities. And then the last thing I'll mention is I did attend the North Fort Collins Business Association meeting last Wednesday, and I'll try to be quick, but there were some interesting details that folks might be interested in. One is there were two city council members present who gave bits of an update. Sheriff Fain was there, and he mentioned, for example, that he's been selected as the vice president for the Colorado Sheriff's Association. He and I talked a little bit about the wildfire outlook work session that we were having, and I think he mentioned that the dispatch office has been fully staffed. Also, Andy Smith from the North Fort Collins Urban Renewal Authority, or the City of Fort Collins, he was there, gave a couple of quick updates. They're working with the Urban Land Conservancy, and they're also working to they're working on the stormwater improvement projects on the west side of College Avenue, North College, and also temporary events in the Albertsons parking lot, and progress being made on regarding El Palomino, the El Palomino Motel, as well as Budget Host Motel. Um, the main program was an update on the Transport Master Optimization Plan regarding transport, and that was quite interesting. I have more details, but they mentioned, for example, that that they're looking to get North College Avenue bus service, 20-minute frequency. They're also looking to connect West Elizabeth with the MAX on Mason. It would not be bus rapid transit, but in light of everything. So that was a very good presentation, and I'm happy to provide more details. It's interesting that the fares, they're going to keep the bus fares free. The bus fares generate about $200,000 when they've had them in place, about $200,000 a year, and that represents about 1 to 2% of their budget. So they're going to keep the free rides, which I think incentivizes folks to participate. Last thing I'll mention there is that I also brought up about microtransit, because I know that's included in our transportation master plan. They talked about microtransit, and we have talked about at the county regarding connectivity between places like Wellington and LaPorte. It's very expensive, I'm sure, as our traffic engineering folks know. It's typically 4 times more expensive. Finally, Andy Smith with the URA will be the main program in April at the North Fort Collins Business Association. And a topic that's rising up is the use of flock safety cameras. And at the May meeting, May 27th, I believe it is, Sheriff Fayen and Chief Swoboda will be present to, talk to the group about the flock cameras. Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few things for me. Last week, Commissioner Shattuck McNally and I were at the National Association of Counties Conference in Washington, D.C. I'm part of the Transportation Committee, and we got to visit with Amtrak, which was fun, and got to see their operations at Union Station. So a preview of things to come for Front Range Passenger Rail. So those were good conversations. There have been a lot of investments in Amtrak, and so they have new trains that can go up to 160 miles per hour. The Acela lines are being improved. So lots of good infrastructure projects happening with Amtrak. They also announced, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced a NOFO that there will be releasing funds for another round of the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. They have $1 billion in that grant for this session. 70% of those grants will be awarded will be implementation grants. So I know we received a Safe Streets and Roads for All planning grant. I'm not sure if we're prepared to apply for one of these these Safe Streets and Roads for All grants, but they will be opening. There was a variety of somewhere between the next 3 weeks and the summer, 2 different kind of answers from 2 different staffers. But anyway, we'll keep our eyes out for that. And then I was able to meet with some of the several other commissioners from across the state, with one of the undersecretaries for Health and Human Services, just expressing some of our concerns about Health and Human Services funding, the importance of child care for people to be able to find employment, the importance of the Workforce and Innovation Opportunity Act, which is also called WIOA. And so I think that was a great conversation. The people in the departments are not responsible for funding. That's our federal legislation. We were also able to meet with several members of our federal delegation to talk about funding for human services and transportation. So I think the conversations went well. I think we were heard, and we will keep plugging away to try to get both human services funding and transportation funding at the federal level. I also got an opportunity to meet with residents at one of the mountain schools. I went to Stove Prairie on Wednesday night, got a tour of the school, got to meet with residents, and a lot of the things that they were talking about is what makes their school special, what makes their community special. So really good conversations around why the mountain schools are valuable. I learned a lot, and I got the tour of a really cool school that used to be a one-room schoolhouse. So and on Thursday, we had our non-attainment area air pollution mitigation enterprise meeting. We increased some fees that help fund that enterprise. But also one of the exciting things is they are planning in April a trip to Fort Collins. So I will give you more details when that board comes up here. Because we are looking to fund bus rapid transit with some of the funds from that program, and Fort Collins is really the only existing bus rapid transit that's running at this time in the state. They're going to come for a field trip and hopefully ride the MAX and see what bus rapid transit's all about. So excited to host that group in April. And then we met with the Urban Renewal Authority. Commissioner Kafalas talked about some of the changes in the Urban Renewal Authority. We did vote to use some of the dollars that we have to fix some stormwater issues on North College, which is really important for future development of that area, especially on the west side of North College. There will be an activation of the space in the former Albertsons building, what's being called tactical urbanism, which is a way to get excitement in a certain place and catalyze sort of long-term changes there. So excited for, what will be an event space where there can be concerts and food trucks and all kinds of things to get people sort of acclimated to the idea that that's hopefully the goal for the future former Albertson space. And then finally, on Sunday, I attended an iftar meal with the Islamic Center of Fort Collins. This iftar meal is, for the folks who don't know, is breaking the fast. So it is Ramadan for another couple weeks, and they have a special meal where they break the fast. This was also a fundraiser for some of the. They want to build a gymnasium at the Islamic Center Fort Collins. Apparently, the kids want to play basketball, which I support. So, but the meal was wonderful. A lot of great hospitality, as always. So, thank you to the Islamic Center Fort Collins, and really got the opportunity to connect with some of the leadership in the Islamic Center. They want to be more civically engaged, and so we'll set up future conversations with those folks to advance that. So that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. I will back up a little bit. You mentioned our trip to the National Association of Counties in D.C., but I'm going to back up just a little bit. A few things I wanted to share. On Wednesday, because we didn't have a meeting last week, we have a few extra things to share. But I've been meeting Wednesday. I've been meeting with homeless folks, supporting people experiencing homelessness, like Homer Lights and some other folks, trying to help educate folks about our homeless strategic plan and how we can engage people to understand the county's role and what we do to partner across the region. And I think it's working to kind of help prevent some misinformation and help folks understand where our role is. And so I think that's been really helpful. We've I was at the legislative committee meeting for CC4CA. Lots happening in that space with lots of bills, but some of those bills are listed on the website and the agenda that as we're trying to take positions and then testify on those. And I did testify on those in DC as I walked down the room and testified on a couple of bills. One of those was to continue the Forest Health Council that I sit on as the governor appointed. That was actually put in and Senate Bill 167, I think. And so we had to renew that and look at that. So that is going well. And I shared a lot of the things that has been successful out of that that Forest Health Council in terms of workforce mitigation and our 30-year vision for the forest, which is, if you ever see me walking around with this sticker, this is a visual of that 30-year plan for our forest. And as you know, we are during a mountain pine beetle outbreak, and in the last 2 weeks, the governor has appointed me to the mountain pine beetle outbreak task force, which will be a brief time, but add a few more meetings and field trips to my schedule. But I'm very honored. There's about 50 people on this task force from all sectors and regions of Colorado, and I believe there's 3 commissioners, Commissioner Dahlkemper and I from Jefferson County, Commissioner Dan Williams from Teller County, and myself, and it will be a fast-moving, intensive task force. So more to come on that. And then on Thursday, I wanted to just share with my colleagues, I believe Commissioner Cafals was there, as Vice Chair of the ROAC. I went with our Human Services Director, I'm not Human Service, Public Health Director, Tom Gonzalez, because he's the chair of the Regional Opioid Abatement Council for Region 2. I'm the vice chair, and we had given a couple of grants to Harvest Farms for an expansion of their very highly successful program for recovery for individuals experiencing substance abuse and homelessness, but their success rate is 92% of folks who go through their program successfully stay housed a year after coming out of the program and stay on a good path. That's a pretty high number. I don't know if many other programs have that number. And we gave them money to expand so they can have 8 more beds and have more folks in that. So I wanted to share. It's really exciting. It was bitterly cold and windy, but we got the ribbon cutted quickly and moved on. I attended this suicide fatality review board as we're talking about implementing some of the ideas that have come out from that committee that the coroner has started, and I appreciate all the different sectors and groups that are in there. And Dr. Gerald Orson is from the health department, is an extremely valuable member helping us walk through that data. Then I drove up from Wellington up to Estes Park. Estes Park, I usually have one full day up there at least, and we had our common grounds. And at Kind Coffee had several people show up talking about the senior center and concerns about how to keep engagement for Estes Park now that we're kind of moving towards dissolving the Estes Valley the advisory committee. I'm trying to think, planning advisory committee. Sorry, I just couldn't get public out of my brain. And we had a really, really productive conversation and a large group of very involved folks. And I think they were pleased with some of these answers and looking forward to the steps that we'll be taking. And then we had our CCAP policy and reform meeting, which was, I tried to go in and out of that, but it was very important. And then I'm also now the vice chair and on the board. And thank you, colleagues, for supporting that appointment for me for the Visit Estes Park board monthly meeting, which we covered a lot of items. We're changing some of the bylaws. There's some changes in staffing, and then we're continuing to work towards Visit Estes Park is kind of take on a dark sky initiative for Estes Park, and there's really a great opportunity for maybe that to expand throughout the valley. It seems like all the dots are lining up, so I just wanted to share that progress. And then we have quarterly our Land Stewardship Advisory Board meeting, talking a lot. This is a board that's appointed that deals with our noxious weeds and has that enterprise or that fund or that property tax that's collected to do that mitigation work. And there's quite a few noxious invasive weeds that we have to tackle, and there's some great progress. And you could probably go on the website and see some before and after pictures, but it's amazing work our staff do there, and I just appreciate all that they do. And then I took off to DC as Commissioner Stevens shared, and I want to just share 3 highlights. Excuse me. I sit on the Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee, a mouthful, but we had I was emailing staff while I was in the meeting. It was so productive and so informative. We heard from Loudoun County and also others about data centers and data center policy and regulation, how water intersects with that. Just fun fact for all of you, maybe you don't know, but 70% of the world's emails go through Loudoun County. for the data centers and AI. So you think about that, 70 of the world. I mean, that just blew me away. And they have lots of information about that. Also talking about water, we had some great water policy. I was able to they gave us a free water policy book that was done by some national experts and learning about how they're dealing with their aquifers. And then NOAA came from Broomfield, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Agency came and presented on some of their work that they can work with counties. And I'm not sure we ever thought about that partnership, but they've been working with Virginia and Loudoun counties. So I'm hoping to we pursue some of that expertise, and that was really exciting. And then PFAS. PFAS is another thing that we've been tackling in waters of the U.S. from the day I've been on this committee for 5 years, and it's something we still wrangle with. But data centers is another area where PFAS is going to be an issue to figure out how we deal with all of that forever chemicals, which is another thing that one of those items. I talk about things that keep me up at night. PFAS is another one. And then we had some great events. We had Colorado caucuses. I serve and go to the Rural Action Caucus. I'm very involved with rural issues through the Rural Action Caucus and also the Mid-Sized Caucus. We had some fantastic and great speakers, and it was great to see the bipartisan efforts. I can't express how nice it is to be with 3,069 counties that are there in the United States. And that was the theme. We are counties. We are 3,069 counties strong. And then also our Colorado caucus was very united in a lot of work that we went up to the Hill in bipartisan teams to talk with Congressman Neguse. I believe Commissioner Stevens went to talk with Senator Bennett. I also had one-on-ones with Congressman Jason Crow and got to talk briefly with Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen, and just opportunities to share some of the items and concerns. Even though they represent different districts, I know they understand and share some of the same values and considerations, especially when it comes to wildfire and natural disasters, as some folks are having struggles with not getting FEMA to respond or to reimburse. And so I did have my Women of NACO meeting, which I mentioned earlier, which is really powerful. And then we had some other side meetings. But one I wanted to share a side meeting is, and they're all women. It's not because it just happens that way, but from California, Hawaii, and from Coconut County with the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, all of those women I've been talking with over the last year to 2 years about wildfire and impacts to their county. And I will be in this year traveling, some of this I will do on my own, but traveling to those two places in Hawaii and to Arizona to look at their recovery efforts and some of the policies and checking out their wildfire mitigation, and also those counties in California. We all share another thing is we have a national park in the county that is associated with those disasters, and so it's all those linkages together. And also there was some conversations with Colorado commissioners as we talked privately just about how we all work together across the state of Colorado to ensure counties navigate through these federal and state changes, and how we, even in a bipartisan way, we need to really fight and work for local control, and because we are the safety net, and how do we also support our nonprofit partners who are extremely important as we work together to help strengthen and take care of our communities. So I wanted to share a little bit of that. It was a very productive conference. I know Commissioner Steve and I were working very, very furiously around areas. One other thing I had to stick in while I was in DC was the Public Policy and Finance Committee meeting for this. I'm on the State Emergency Medical and Trauma Services Advisory Committee. I just wanted to share this because we keep having meeting after meeting, special meeting, because they're still wrangling with how to fund all the things they're supposed to do with no funding that's been shrinking, especially mental health, providing mental health sessions for first responders in rural areas. And it's something that I am just wrestling with as well. But when you come down to it, there is no money. The states make cuts and there's no money. And so I just wanted to kind of share that every sector is being impacted by these items. And I just wanted to make sure we all are aware of that. And we did have our first mountain pine beetle task force meeting, mostly just to hear from all the trainings and legal and Cora and all those things. So that was interesting. And then we had our wildfire I chair the Natural Resources and Wildfire and meeting for CCAT, and we had a very productive meeting with that. We had a Regional Opioid Abatement Council meeting for the ROAC, and lots of things happening there as we're trying to go through and look at what buckets we can fund or not fund, and how precise we have to be with the state and the categories. And I know David A. Rhodes very aware of this. You got to be very precise on those, which we always have been, but it's even gone down to a deeper level. And then we are our Parks Advisory and Open Lands Advisory Board had its last meeting. As those two separate going forward, they will be the Natural Resources Advisory Board meeting. And so I just wanted to share and thank everyone with their support on that. There was lots of conversations about that, and talking about the bylaws, which will come before us. And that's all I'll share. It was still a very few busy week and other things. Oh, one last thing. I've been volunteering with Kids PAC for 12 years, which is a nonprofit in Loveland that which serves to provide weekend bags of food for kids in the Thompson School District to take home on the weekends. They don't have to qualify. The teachers or staff nominate those folks, those children and families, most of the children, so they can quietly and with dignity give them bags of food in their backpacks to take home. And several years ago, with the first food drive that we came up with, I was a team captain, and it was so physically demanding, bringing all the food that was donated, because they have the food in front of the stores and you can buy cases, and then they have to go into the warehouse, which is something that we as commissioners supported, that capital project. And I just wanted to share, I didn't really think they're going to be able to, I mean, I hated to doubt it, but when I was there, it wasn't as busy as I normally see, but I thought last year with 30,000 pounds of food was an amazing goal, but they set a goal for 40,000 pounds of food, and they blew past it. 48,000 pounds of food was collected and all in the warehouse. And I just want to thank Kids PAC, especially Tom and Corinne Kerrigan and Bradley and all of those who worked tirelessly, and all the volunteers who have been there longer than I have, and that's been 12 years, and doing all that work, and to the community for their generosity. That is going to help Kids PAC serve those folks. And as we're going in this time of uncertainty, knowing that is a great of macaroni and cheese and beef sticks and all the things that they collected is there to help serve that community. And those kids will we're feeding our future, and they're going to be able to have food on the weekend, especially when school's out. So I just wanted to share that. So, and congratulations, Kids PAC, well done. So a lot happening because we haven't been here for 2 weeks, but I think just want to make sure you all know the work that especially when Commissioner Stevens and I go to DC, we're working, we're everywhere. And as you can see, we both had some very productive meetings. So now we're going to end our regular agenda and move into legal matters and executive sessions. And as I understand from our County Attorney Bill Sue, we're going to read all of these motions to go in. And so I'm going to ask Commissioner Kofalos, if you can do this, please, is you're going to read through all 5 executive motions, or executive session motions to go into, but we'll vote on them as a whole at the end. So if you can just read those 5, all 5 of them back to back, not the motions as we come out. These will have decisions, and so we will be returning at the end of these executive sessions. I'll say there's 5 of these, and so this will be a while that will be an executive session, but we will come out and make 5 decisions. And so Lauren, I see you want to say something.
I do. I think maybe to make it a little easier, they're all the same citation. And so perhaps you could read the citation and then the 5 reasons rather than reading the citation over and over again.
That would be great. So does that help, Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you for your help.
Okay.
So I move that the Board of County Commissioners move into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402-4B, conferences with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice about agreement negotiations with Jackson Ditch relating to drainage for the County Emergency Services Building. Furthermore, conferences with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding County Road 70 expansion project between County Road 11 and 13 and potential exercise of eminent domain, update on status and potential settlement discussions. Furthermore, conferences with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice about Timothy Tika Krebs versus Fayen, U.S. District Court 25-CV 2664-RTG. And furthermore, conferences with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice about Erica Centeno versus Larimer County et al., U.S. District Court 25 CV-3041-RTG. And finally, conferences with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice about Zachary Widener versus Larimer County Sheriff's Office et al., U.S. District Court 25-CV-1646 SKC-KAS.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think those are proper motions. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. We're moving to executive session and we will see you on the other side. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We are back from our executive sessions. We had 5 motions and 5 items to discuss. We are now back because decisions will be made in all 5 of those executive sessions that we just had. So I'm going to have our first county attorney, Frank Howe, kind of summarize. There's 2 of them, but he's going to go one at a time and kind of give a brief overview, and then we'll take the first motion. I'll have Commissioner Kofalis make that first motion, and I'll have Commissioner Stevens make the second motion. So, Frank, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first issue is the county is expanding County Road 70, and as a part of that process, we've been negotiating with landowners. This particular phase of the project is between County Road 11 and County Road 13. We've been able to resolve all of the landowner issues except essentially for 2 property owners. One is Blem Farms, and the other is the Wellington Operating Company, both of whom own parcels of land in that corridor. We are at a point where we've been negotiating. We're hopeful to continue negotiating, and we may be able to work it out still without having to file an eminent domain case. But we need authorization in order to keep the project on track and on schedule, that we can go ahead and move forward with that eminent domain action against those 2 particular properties if we need to, if we aren't able to resolve it.
Thank you. Frank, colleagues, any questions? Commissioner Kofalis, would you make that motion, please?
Yes. I move to authorize the county attorney's office to continue negotiations with, which one are we doing?
I believe it's the second one.
I think it's the second
Second
one,
one.
listed the condemnations.
I move to authorize the county attorney's office to continue negotiations and, if necessary, file eminent domain actions and motions for immediate possession to secure necessary right-of-way and easements between County Road 11 and County Road 13 along County Road 70, as noted in the record.
Thank you, sir, for that motion. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Frank. On to the next one. I'll have Commissioner is that covering both of those or just?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so that covered both of those.
Yes.
Okay,
The condemnations. Now it's the,
so now we're doing the item number 1.
yes.
Okay, so I'll have Commissioner Stevens make that motion when it's time. Go ahead.
The second matter is with the county's building a new emergency services building, and the drainage of that. There's ongoing negotiations with the Jackson Ditch Company to try to work out how to appropriately compensate them for that. We're at a little bit of an impasse with how to move forward. That has to do primarily with a request by the company to pay an ongoing fee every year into the future. The county, because of Tabor and because of certain financial restrictions, we can't commit to paying sort of fees in perpetuity like that. And so we're sort of in an impasse with regard to how to resolve that problem. When you have these sorts of issues with ditch companies, the law requires you to file what's called a Rule 57 declaratory judgment action if you can't resolve it. We're still hopeful on that one also, that we may be able to have some continued negotiations and resolve the matter. But if not, we're not really going to have an option other than to ask the court to help us find a reasonable solution. And so that's what we're asking for in that matter.
Thank you, Frank. Any further questions, colleagues? Okay, Commissioner Stevens, please make that motion.
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to authorize the county attorney's office to continue negotiations with the Jackson Ditch Company and, if necessary, file a case seeking declaratory relief under Colorado Rule of Civil Procedure, Rule 57.
Thank you for that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you,
you.
Frank. I'll welcome David Arrow to come up and we'll do the next 3.
Good morning, David Ayer, Deputy County Attorney. Can I clarify, do you want me to go through one and then let you do it and then go through? Okay. The first one that we met in executive session had to deal with a lawsuit filed by Timothy Tika Krebs v. John Fan as the Larimer County Sheriff. That's in U.S. District Court 25 CV 2664 RTG. We went over the allegations in the case. In brief summary, it has to do with Ms. Krebs filing a claim because she disputes the disciplinary process that occurred in the jail and wants to assert a due process claim. We are here seeking for the board to approve defense and indemnification for all the county defendants named in that matter.
Thank you, David. Any further questions? Commissioner Kafalis, would you make that motion, please?
Yes. Yes, I would be happy to. I move that the Board of County Commissioners defend and indemnify county officials and employees in U.S. District Court Case 25-CV-2664-RTG.
Thank you, Commissioner Kafalis, for that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Thank you, David.
Thank you. The next matter we discussed is another lawsuit filed by Erica Centino v. Larimer County et al., which involves 6 individually named county employees with the Department of Human Services. It was filed in U.S. District Court 25 CV 3041 RTG. In summary, we went through the allegations. Ms. Centino is upset about due process and other alleged violations regarding a child protection matter. In that regard, we are seeking the board to approve defense and indemnification for the county and for the named county defendants.
Thank you, David, for that summary. Any further questions? I believe it's Commissioner Stevens. Would you make that motion, please?
I would, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of County Commissioners defend and indemnify county officials and employees in U.S. District Court Case 25 CV 3041 RTG.
Thank you for that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Last one.
The final matter that we discussed is a lawsuit filed by Zachary Widner v. Larimer County Sheriff's Office and 12 named and unnamed deputies. That was filed in U.S. District Court 25 CV 1646 SKC KAS. We discussed the allegations in that matter where Mr. Widnauer is alleging civil rights violations when he was arrested in August of 2023.
Joseph Salzano.
That was in relation to an alleged attempted murder charge that he was being arrested for. And we are seeking authorization from the board for defense and indemnification of the Sheriff's Office and the named employees.
Thank you for that summary. Any further discussion? Any questions? Okay, Commissioner Kafalis, would you make that last motion, please?
Yep. I move that the Board of County Commissioners defend and indemnify county officials and employees in U.S. District Court Case 25-CV-1646-SKC-KAS.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Do we have any other legal matters to discuss or to bring up? Okay.
No, thank
With
you.
that, we at 10:59, we are fully adjourned as the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.